Welcome to our first ever episode of In the Glow.
Yay! I'm so excited for this.
I know, I literally can't wait. Do you want to let the people know what In the Glow is?
Absolutely. So, In the Glow is a bit of an inside scoop of what it is to run and grow a beauty brand, but not necessarily a beauty brand. We're also going to be interviewing some special guests, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And it's just to give people a bit of a behind the scenes of the day-to-day runnings of viral businesses and what it takes to kind of grow a brand. So yeah, we're really excited for this kind of exclusive just for YouTube.
Yeah, and do you want to tell them what makes you qualified to know about when it comes to running a TikTok viral business? Who are you?
Yes, I am Daisy and I'm the founder of Glow For It. So yeah, and who are you?
I'm Sharon, and I am the TikTok manager at Glow For It.
And this was Sharon's wonderful idea. So
It was, and I honestly think the best first guest we could have for In the Glow is the founder of Glow For It, which is Miss Daisy Kelly.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a bit nervous. I don't have any clue what questions you're going to ask me.
She has no idea, guys. I have got cue cards, like a proper professional little interviewer, and I'm going to be asking Daisy a bunch of questions about her life, about Glow For It.
God, I'm so nervous. Okay,
And business. No, you're going to be fine.
Okay.
They're all good.
let's do it.
Woo! So, I feel like a lot of us probably already know that you used to compulsively pick out your eyelashes.
Yeah.
Which is, what led you to wanting to find a lash serum that works for your lashes and also just works for like your skin in general. But what was it in you essentially that made you decide to actually start your own business instead of just using something on the market that has already existed?
It's a good question. I'd say there's a few things. One circumstance, I'd been doing a degree in musical theatre, which anyone who's done a degree in musical theatre will know is a whole nother experience in itself. But my third year was cut short because we went into COVID. So I'd gone from like a very intense course, 9 a.m. ballet every single day, not finishing to normally about 7 p.m, sometimes later, to back at home with my parents, a few Zooms a day, but nothing basically compared to like the intensity that my course was. I also graduated with an agent, hoping to go onto the West End at some point, but all the theatres closed down. There were no auditions, so it just I'm not very good at not doing anything. So I think circumstance helped because I had the time basically for probably the first time in my life to kind of explore different avenues. And by the time I'd graduated also, I'd kind of decided that industry was definitely not serving me anymore and I wasn't finding the enjoyment out of it. So I kind of was open to exploring different avenues. I'd also say I have always been a very, not necessarily entrepreneurial person, but I really didn't believe there was anything that I couldn't do. And I really think that was instilled maybe partly from being an only child, to be honest, because my parents would just say like, you can do anything you set your mind to. But also particularly from my mum, she's incredibly business savvy. She's been CEO of multiple companies. So I've just grown up in an environment where women could do and could achieve anything. And one thing she's always told me is just never rely on a man for anything. And I've never planned to, I always planned to be completely self-sufficient. So I thought the theatre industry probably wasn't going to provide that for me. So I was going to do it for myself, if that makes sense.
Oh my God, you're such a girl boss.
No,
Honest to God,
I think
listen to
everyone's a
the
girl
answer.
boss, but it's
Yeah.
confidence. And I
Yeah.
think I'd grown up in an environment that made me a very confident person when it came to my abilities.
Yeah. Would you say that you're like quite a confident person naturally though?
No, I'd say I am an extroverted introvert. Maybe when you'd meet me or you maybe see some of the things I've done, for example, you might think I was very extroverted. I'm very comfortable like being in a room and talking about my business, but my favorite thing to do is like sit on the sofa on my own and watch YouTube or watch Harry Potter. Like that's my comfort. So I wouldn't say I'm naturally confident. I would say the degree I did knocked basically all the confidence I had in myself out.
Really?
I think just that environment, and that's why like this picking kind of manifested, picking like my eyelashes, because just that environment, you're constantly being judged, you're not good enough, you're not getting the role, you're not getting the job. And I was quite knocked coming out of that experience. So actually, these last few years of like building the brand, building the business, building a team, I'm now the most confident I've ever been. And that kind of process has been, a real journey.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I feel like when you look at other business owners, it's like the building the business is what shakes their confidence because of like that naivety. But it was like, it's interesting to hear that you like leaned into that, and that's what kind of brought out your confidence, like doing the scary stuff and going out there and putting yourself out there when like you might not have necessarily felt like you wanted to.
Yeah, because I think to me, like by the end of my degree, my worst nightmare was literally having to stand on a stage and sing to people. Like that to me was like suddenly the most exposing thing I could ever do, when that was once something that brought me so much joy and happiness. So the idea of like, not to be naive, but to build a business wasn't really that scary, because it was much scarier to like stand in front of a room of 20 people and have to sing a song. Like that to me was scary. But yeah, I've heard it so many times, but naivety is just such a superpower. Like I think if you can harness that in the early stages, you're already off to a winner, because there's a reason why there's so many young entrepreneurs and people starting businesses, because the fear, it's not really grounded yet, because you don't have people dependent on you. You don't have a mortgage, you don't have children. So you really can use and harness that naivety for sure.
And like, so what was Daisy like back then? I know we've touched on it a little bit, but like when you're packing those orders up in like your kitchen, like what was like her main sort of driving force to get through the day, like back then as compared to like now? Because I can imagine that's quite different.
Yeah, I should probably put it into context. I didn't finish my degree and go straight full-time with the business. I was teaching at the time. So I was a drama teacher. I also did music classes. So I was pretty much working a full-time job. I would teach music classes every day until about 2 p.m. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I did drama classes all day. So literally I was running the business from 2 p.m. till midnight. So that, probably looking back, was the hardest I'd ever worked, because I was really having to juggle both. And that's why I have such sympathy for people who are still in that stage where they can't quite full-time do the thing they love most, because all that was getting me through that teaching job was knowing that I could get back home and work on the business. But it wasn't financially at the point where I could go all in. So yeah, I'd say Daisy at that time was stressed, very tired. I was working this teaching job, which means you have to kind of have an element of performance. So by the time I would get back, I would be so exhausted. And often I would then have to film content, because I couldn't pay UGC creators. So I was filming all the content myself. And then I'd have to package up the orders and do the email marketing and the customer service and make sure our finances. It was honestly exhausting, but I really value that time, because I was able to do, and I had to do everything. And I think that's what gives you that awareness as a business owner of where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, who your first employee needs to be, all of that stuff, which sometimes maybe people skip past, but I think it's very grounding to have.
Yeah. And so at what point then, like as you were doing sort of everything, did you realize, oh, I'm probably gonna have to leave my job to like actually take this on like full time?
Well, I was also actually still with my agent at that point. So I hadn't fully said no to the career in theatre. And I think I was hanging on to it because I put so many years of training in, and my friends, my family, that's all they'd only ever known for me, that was what I wanted to do. So I felt more guilty stepping away from it for them than I did for myself. I think I truly knew after my degree that wasn't the industry for me, but I was like, oh, I'll give it a go, and maybe if I get one credit, then I can suck it in. Yeah. So I was still with my agent. So the turning point for me, I did a panto one Christmas. Christ. So I did this panto, and I was, one of the parts I had to put on a giant Puss in Boots costume with the head.
A cat head?
Cat head. Run around. Then I had to take the cat head off, come out as a Disney princess and sing Frozen. And bearing in mind, still at that point, that was a panto over Christmas, so it was our busiest period for the business. I then had to get my mum and friends like Charlotte, who's still with us today, to be packaging the orders at my family home whilst I was away on this panto. And then I would get in from the panto at 10 p.m, 11 p.m, and we were in these digs in the middle of nowhere in like Nottingham Forest. And I was literally hanging out the window with my laptop at like midnight trying to answer emails because there was no service. And crying myself to sleep, like, what am I doing? I brought this upon myself. And I finished that contract. And I literally, the week after, called my agent and I was like, thank you so much. I'm going to have to take a break from this because that cannot be my life. And also, it was our busiest period. I was making in a day what I'd earned from that entire contract in the panto. So it was just really putting into perspective for me that cannot be where I'm prioritizing my time when I clearly have something special here that needs to be nurtured more. So yeah, that was the real shift. That was the turning point where I thought, okay, I don't have kids. I don't have to pay a mortgage. I'm very, very fortunate to live in a gorgeous home with my family. Why not give it a go and just see what happens?
That actually sounds harrowing.
I am sure there's probably a recording of that somewhere, and I hope it never gets surfaced. Because
if you do find it, just send it to me. It's fine.
Awful.
Because I remember you talking about it, and I was like, "Oh my god, that sounds awful." But that sounds really bad.
Well, I remember my agent called me to say they want you in the panto, and when she called me, I cried and I said, "I don't want to do it." And she was like, "Daisy, you've not got any credits. You need to take the panto. We need to start building up your credits." And I remember I called my boyfriend and I was like, "I've got the panto and I don't want to do it." And he was like, "I really think you just need to do it." And actually, probably in hindsight, best thing I did, because that was really what I couldn't be doing.
Lit
every
a fire
year.
in your belly.
That was just not for me. And also, the business was starting to scale that I couldn't do both. So a decision did need to be made.
Yeah. So one thing I have always wondered is, why did you name the business Glow For It? Like, it's very unique. It's also 3 words, and loads of businesses now are like one word.
I know. I had a real identity crisis, I'd say, about 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago, when I thought, what is this name? Like, if I could go back in time and just call it like Daisy. One word.
Lashes.
Or like, so many brands like Refy, Gasoo, Way, like that to me is beautiful branding. And the real answer is there was just, I hate to say not a lot of thought, because that isn't true, but definitely I didn't sit down at the start of the business and think, okay, what is the business plan here? What is the model? What is the 5-year plan? What is the 10-year plan? It was literally a passion project for me at a time where I was kind of really unsure what my career direction was going to be. So we were actually originally called Glow For It Girl. And I say little thought was put into it. There was actually a lot of thought, in the sense that the core values of Glow For It have always been to empower people to feel confident in their natural beauty. I definitely found that growing back my natural lashes after years of picking had kind of built up my own confidence. So Glow For It Girl, Go For It Girl was kind of the gist, to go natural with a glow.
Oh my gosh.
So we were initially called Glow For It Girl, and we had our Glow Girls, and that was going really nicely. We were building a community, but quickly I realized that name didn't encompass who I wanted our Glow For It customer to be in the future. So about a year in, I decided to change the name to Glow For It. And at that point, I was also juggling around loads of different name ideas, because I thought, okay, if we're doing a rebrand, because we'd had to change all of the packaging because everything said Glow For It Girl on it. The web domain was Glow For It Girl. I thought this is the time that I could find a brand new name and completely rebrand. But actually, when we spoke to our customers, the essence of what Glow For It Girl was and what Glow For It is so clear that actually we don't need to change or streamline to one kind of ambiguous word.
Yeah.
When actually we've got such clear groundings in the business. So yeah, that's why it's Glow for It. Go natural with a glow, basically.
Oh my God, I love that. And it does stand out, to be fair, because I feel like you're so right. Like so many of like the brand names now, I have no idea what half of them mean. Like
or
they're
I
words I've
read
never
it
seen
and
before.
I think, have I pronounced that right?
Just
And then
about
I've
to say.
probably gone my whole life pronouncing the name of a brand that I have probably in my makeup bag completely wrong.
Completely wrong.
Which I think that's lovely, and I think it's so sleek, so elevated. But I was 21 when I started the business. Like, that wasn't where my head was at. It was more about how the products would make people feel.
As you said, 21 when you started the business, no business plan, no model. We were just kind of going for vibes. Would you have
Pure vibes.
would you have envisioned back at 21 crying yourself to sleep because you've got that Pantone and whatnot going on, that the business would be at the size that it is now in like 4 short years?
There's 2 answers to this. I would definitely initially say never in a million years. I didn't see this huge opportunity that was there. And I think that's what's made the journey so beautiful and amazing, and something that I'm so grateful for, because it wasn't certain at all. However, I have always had this just pure sense. I think it's something you have as well. I notice it in your character too. But like this pure sense that I can really achieve anything I put my mind to. And I think, again, that's another superpower. And it's definitely not arrogance, because I'm not an arrogant person. And I'm sometimes not even a confident person. But I've always known deep down that I'm capable. And I think anyone's capable. You just have to believe it enough. And maybe it is delusion, but I think if you believe something enough, you can achieve it. And I remember even practicing my Oscar speech when I would win my Oscar. I would practice
you would hear the when.
I would practice it out loud, and I'd be thinking, and then I would say, and thank you to my mum, you've given everything to me. Do you know? And then I imagine her crying when I accepted it. But I genuinely would see that as like when I accept my Oscar. It was never not achievable.
Yeah. Do you know, I think that's so interesting, because I was thinking this about myself, not to make it about me, but I was thinking this about myself. There's just like, I feel like, again, everyone should sort of have it in them, but I think there's just like a subset to people that kind of just have like a switch that is like, because I think you're right. Like, I completely get what you're saying in terms of like no, in terms of like envisioning the success and stuff, but it wasn't ever something that didn't feel attainable or unachievable.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, I didn't realize it was going this way, but I always knew I could do it if I wanted to at that time.
Yeah. And I think also there is so many people in this life who are going to put you down, or going to put you in a box, or they're going to set boundaries for you, that if you start to do that for yourself, that's damaging. You know, I think it's an amazing thing for anyone out there to really have huge goals and aspirations, because everyone else is going to be the ones to tell you can't do it. So you have to believe that you can.
Yeah, like the only person you really actually need to convince is like yourself at the end of the day, because it's just you. It's just you. Get that on the t-shirt. What would you consider has been like one of the most important things to consider when growing a business? Like, is there like a defining thing where you're like, no, you really need to like knuckle down and think about this if you're deciding to start a business, or as you're growing the business, it's something that you always need to factor into like your decisions?
There are so many, but I think at the core of definitely Glow for It is our product, but our community, and the two feed into each other. And how we've been able to build that is because we've always been very true to the core values of who and what Glow for It is. The ability to help people to feel confident in their natural beauty, to have reliable products that are available to everyone that can give reliable and transformative results. So we've always been really focused on that core value. So any products we develop, it's how can that help enhance the way someone will feel about themselves? And then that feeds into the community that we create, making sure it's an inclusive, beautiful place to be, that everyone feels seen and valued and heard. And that's something as a founder I take incredibly seriously. So always feeding that throughout the team, any process that we go on, any campaign, it's always that core value. So I think that can help kind of streamline almost your decision making. I'd also say, as an owner, I've always been really clear about what our unique offerings are as Glow For It. So that being number one, our core founder story and our focus. And that's what initially connected people to me and people to the brand. They saw my transformative journey that I went on through growing back my natural lashes. And then they were also able to share that journey as well. So our founder focus is kind of really key, I would say, in all content that we do and where we place ourselves as a brand. I would also say we've taken a lot of time and put a lot of money and a lot of effort into where and how our products are being formulated and made. I think also it's something that I recognize within the wider industry that wasn't being so carefully considered. So that's, again, another one of our key unique offerings. What other people are doing in the industry in terms of, part of the reason I started Glow For It is because a lot of the other serums on the market contained hormones and prostaglandins, and people were getting negative side effects from using those. So being, again, really clear in what's inside our products, what's the purpose of it, make sure that benefits are there. And then, yeah, other things like our Vegan Society cruelty-free, really building kind of that true purpose of what Glow For It stands for. And I think if you're really clear in what that is for your business, that allows other people, your community, to also have clarity over that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's so interesting as well, since like starting to work here, I feel like you've set such a standard for when it comes to like new product development and that core message and putting our community first in like our content and also in the products we develop, that when when you just hear of like other brands and stuff and like their process, it feels kind of alien that people aren't as like stringent in having that focus. Like, you set such a standard of like, this is how it needs to be done, just to make sure that everyone feels included, that it's being sourced ethically, etc., that I think it does genuinely set the business apart from other people in such a massive way, or other like brands essentially.
Yeah, I think that's the joy though. Also, like, my favorite thing is when we go up to the factory and we're going into production for a new product that we've literally spent years formulating. I can't even explain, like, the lash and brow serum was 3 years from concept to formulation and then development. The lip oils that we just did was 1.5 years. Yeah. Like, we had so many rounds of samples. The hair serum was 2 years. And don't get me wrong, I understand why some people choose not to go on that process, because it is expensive and it does take a lot of time. If you're going to a manufacturer with a concept, potentially in the UK, you have to be willing to wait, best case, 1.5 years, to see that product come into development and reach the market. So by the time something comes around to launching, I am so certain of the efficacy of that product. And I'm so proud of it because I know every single member of our entire team has played a role into bringing that product to life. So for me, that's the biggest joy of a beauty brand. So yeah, it's surprising that some people don't go on that journey, but I do also understand it because it's got its drawbacks as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like on that as well, in terms of like businessy brands and like their kind of processes of running things, there's a lot of like ideations of like what a successful business owner is meant to be and like what they're meant to look like. So I know the answer to this question already. Okay. But do you think that you need to wake up at 5 a.m. and have a 20-step routine before you enter the office to be a successful business owner?
Do you know why Sharon's asking me this? It's because I'm the latest riser out of everyone in the office. So I'm going to say definitely not. I think you just need to know. I know that I need 8 hours sleep. Otherwise, there's just no point. There is no point me being in the office that day. So yes, I know you're an early riser, and I know Shara is. I'm actually trying. I was up at 6:20 today for Pilates. I'm trying to make a change.
6:20?
6:20, 7 a.m. class, 7 till 8 a.m.
Wow, well done.
I know.
Crazy.
But by no means, like, I know I know quite a few business owners who just know that their body works best starting at midday, and they'll work midday till 7, 8, 9 p.m. I also know business owners who start 3 p.m. and work till 3 in the morning. Like, I think it's just about learning what your best working environment is for your body and your mind. And I would say I've felt a shift in that since having an office and a team where you have to fit a norm and fit kind of what the expectation is, that 9 to 5, whereas definitely naturally for me, I'd probably be, well, we say 9 to 5, I'm probably 9 till 11 p.m. But definitely I feel a slight pressure now, given that we've got the team in place and kind of you fit those working hours.
And you're not just working by yourself anymore, like you're working with, you know,
oh my God, it's the biggest shift I've ever felt in the business, what we're going through right now, because we are putting amazingly skilled people in place like yourself, but it's a shift from just doing all of that yourself to suddenly kind of having a team and make sure they're thriving, that they're developing as well. So
did you kind of feel like at a bit of a loss when you started let's say hiring people in certain positions, because you're like, oh, I don't need to do that anymore, like what do I do with my time? Did you ever feel that?
I would say I only ever hired someone in a role because feasibly I either was not good enough to do it or I could not do it. So the first ever role I hired was customer service, because I was literally pulling my hair out answering these customer queries and emails, and I was finding it would take me 5 hours a day to get through the DMs and the emails. Now, as a business owner, that's 5 hours out of my day that I could be growing and developing the brand. And yes, customer service is such a huge part of that. But the first person that I hired was our customer service manager, and she's still with us nearly 5 years later. So I would say find where your strengths are, feed those, and then if you have areas of weaknesses, which we all do, get extra support in those areas.
Do you regret being a social first business and putting yourself as the face of Glow for Red?
It's not something I regret. Lots of people at the start of the journey for me were saying, are you 100% sure you want to put yourself as the face of the business? You know, there can be kind of things that come into play when you do put yourself so out there. But for me, it's just something that felt kind of super true and authentic to the brand and also myself. So I definitely don't regret it. I think our products and myself as kind of the focus or the driving force of that in the early days really helped to establish and build our community. So I don't think necessarily the community would be what it is today if that hadn't have been the case. So definitely don't regret it. And we're at a nice stage now where there's other people who are also kind of the faces behind the brand now, you know, within our team and our TikTok. So that kind of isn't solely on me anymore, which is nice.
And you see it a lot with other businesses now, like especially like TikTok businesses, like putting themselves as the face of the brand.
Yeah.
And so what would you think is like one of the biggest misconceptions about TikTok businesses and like TikTok viral businesses? Because obviously we're not just on TikTok.
Yeah, I'd say for us personally, it's that we're like solely dependent on TikTok. I've even been to events and someone said, like, not thinking I can hear that, oh, Daisy and Glow for It is like 100% of their sales are through TikTok, which definitely isn't the case for us. I think TikTok has given us an incredible platform and brand awareness. And if ever I speak to someone, they'll have most likely found the brand through TikTok. So that's something I'm so grateful of. I think there's also a misconception that kind of TikTok brands and products aren't actually that good, which again couldn't be further from the truth, because people on that platform are so honest with how they feel about a product. If anything, you know that if you're buying something and you've seen these videos, people have the opportunity on TikTok to be so honest and transparent. If someone is taking the time to make a video to say that they like a product or these are their results, like that's genuine. So yeah, definitely not the case for us. I think people think a lot of the products aren't made here in the UK, which we of course are. So it's kind of that educational point around what Glow For It is and what our products are and why we've made them.
Yeah, no, I was going to say absolutely again. Sorry.
Absolutely.
What is on? Can you give us 3 things, just 3, that are on the vision board for 2025?
Number 1, retail. Full stop. Number 2, global expansion is like extreme, but diversifying our awareness, not just here in the UK. We've got amazing kind of pools of customers that don't just sit here in the UK. So beginning to be recognised elsewhere is something we were really putting the groundwork into. And third thing, NPD. Like the new...
What is NPD?
Sorry. NPD is new product development. And we have been working hard. As I say, our products take years to develop. So we are now finally catching up with ourselves in that some products that we've been developing for 2 years, 2.5 years, a year and a half are finally now at the point where they're going to be ready to launch this year. And I think it's going to really kind of shake the space a little bit for Glow For It, how we're seen, what we're known for, what kind of category people are putting us into. These products are incredible and there is so much amazing science behind them. So I'm really excited for people to kind of, recognize us for something different.
Where would be, if anyone gets to the end of this video, where would be like your dream place for Glow For It to like be in retail? Have you got any few in mind?
I've definitely got a few in mind. I think always kind of selfishly as a customer, my dream places are where I do my shopping as a consumer, because I know the pull and the draw that those brands have for me. So I'm a Boots customer. Like that's where I would go if I'm in the high street to do my shopping. I'm a Space NK girly through and through, as we all know. I could live in that store. I'm a Selfridges girly. Like that's where I love to go to the beauty hall. Like that to me is an inspirational space of brands and experiences. So there are lots of places on my list, but I think, selfishly, it's the places that I love to do my shopping. And that's where I would love to picture the brand.
On the stands.
On the stands.
Very exciting.
We're done.
Oh my gosh. That was actually fine. I actually really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed thinking back to some of those like early days, because I haven't thought about them for a while. So
it's nice, isn't it?
It is nice.
Reminisce.
Because I'm thinking where we're going, but it's important to remember where we've been.
Oh, get that on a t-shirt.
There we go.
All right, guys. Well, that was our first ever episode of In the Glow with none other than Daisy Kelly.
I love that. And I can't wait to next time be asking the questions to someone else.
I have had a wonderful time asking the questions.
But also let us know in the comments, guys, if you have any more questions. Maybe we can do a part 2 of this, and it's
Absolutely.
questions from the audience.
Yeah.
And also anyone that you'd like us to get on.
Give us your suggestions in the comments because, guys, I won't lie, I've had the time of my life doing this YouTube video today.
This is your dreams coming
I'm doing another one. We will do another one. All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching. If you got to the end of this video, make sure to leave a comment giving us any suggestions about what you want to see next and what guest you'd like to be on this lovely little hot seat. Don't forget to like and subscribe and then click the bell.
Woo! Thank you so much for all your support. I've had the best time. Yay! Thank you.